He was barely 19 years old, a farm boy from Ohio who had traded his plow for a parachute. And on a chilly day in early 1942, Private John Thomas Tommy MacKall stepped into history. Not because he sought glory, but because war left him no choice. In 1942, the world was burning. The U.S. had just entered the war. New units, new ideas, new costs. Among the boldest, paratroopers. Soldiers who would jump out of aircraft behind enemy lines, fight before tanks arrived, and take risks few could imagine. John MacKall joined that leap. He volunteered, he trained, and he jumped. He became one of America's first paratroopers to fall in combat. His death was reported under the title, First American Boy Soldier Killed in Africa. And yet today, few remember his name. This is the story of how a young man dared to serve, lied to join, carried secret burdens, and paid the ultimate price. A story of youth, courage, sacrifice, and what it meant to fight when the world needed you. John Thomas MacKall was born on May 17, 1920 in Negley, Ohio. He grew up on a farm near Wellsville. His early life was simple: chores, school, high school football. But the world around him changed. By the time he left the 10th grade, America was slowly being drawn into conflict abroad. John worked at the Sterling China Company, belonged to a labor union, but he felt the pull of something bigger. When the war broke out and the U.S. entered it after Pearl Harbor, many young men answered the call. John did too. On January 7, 1942, MacKall enlisted at Camp Perry, Ohio. He was still just 21, old enough by law to enlist, but the bigger story lay beneath. He concealed a hand deformity in his physical exam. He wanted to serve, so he had a weakness, because he believed that if he didn't step forward, someone else would, and the cost would be higher. The farm boy became a paratrooper candidate. Suddenly, he wasn't just lifting crates or throwing pottery. He was preparing to leap into the air behind enemy lines into combat. The concept of parachute infantry was new and daring. The U.S. Army formed its first airborne units in 1941 to 42. They trained hard. They jumped into uncertainty. They carried the spear tip of Allied operations. John MacKall volunteered for the 509th Infantry Regiment, airborne, and other airborne units. Think about that. You're in a plane flying toward Africa or Europe. You open the door, you jump out. Then you fight. The training was brutal. You drop into night jump zones. You land in fields, rivers, forests. You fight with minimal support. Every jump could be your last. John embraced it. He became part of the 509th, one of the first American units to use airborne deployment in combat. When Operation Torch, the Allied invasion of North Africa in November 1942, launched, airborne elements were among the first waves. John was in. It was bold, dangerous. It was meant to shape the war's future. Lying about age is common in war stories, but MacKall's concealment was tougher. He wasn't undersized. He wasn't too young. He hid a hand deformity to pass muster. Why? Because he believed in the fight with all his heart. He accepted the risk. But carrying a hidden weakness in an elite airborne unit is no small burden. Your hands must grip, clutch, pull, parachute cords, weapon, cover your team. What does a deformity mean in that moment? John fought that question each day. On the farm and in his union work, he learned discipline, teamwork, responsibility. In training, he learned to fly, jump, and fight. The secret stayed hidden. He wasn't after recognition. He just wanted the chance to serve. And when his unit trained, jumped, prepared for battle, he proved himself. He made the jumps, he endured, which is why when the war called him, he answered. November 8, 1942. The beaches of North Africa. The Allied invasion of Vichy French North Africa, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia. For the U.S. paratroopers, this meant jumping into darkness, landing near Oran, Algeria, seizing key airfields, cutting enemy reinforcements. John Thomas MacKall was among them. They jumped. They hit the ground. They fought. Planes, anti-aircraft, enemy defenders. In those first drops, 7 paratroopers died at the scene. Several more wounded. One of them, MacKall. He was wounded on November 8, 1942, when French/Vichy aircraft attacked parachute landing zones. He survived the initial jump. He fought. He fell wounded. He was evacuated to a British hospital in Gibraltar. On November 12, 1942, just 4 days after the jump, Private MacKall died of his wounds. He was 22 years old. In that moment, he became one of America's first paratrooper casualties, one of the first young men to fall in the airborne fight. Behind the airborne drop was tragedy and heroism. For each airborne unit, the tolerance for risk was high, the stakes even higher. MacKall's sacrifice taught a generation. That commitment means standing in front when the door opens, knowing the ground might be wrong, knowing that death might be minutes away. After his death, the U.S. Army renamed its jump training camp at Hoffman Airborne Camp, North Carolina, to Camp MacKall in his honor on February 8, 1943. His hometown remembered him. Paratrooper units honored him. The new generation of paratroopers trained where his name was every day. His story also begged the question, what price service? What does it mean to be young, to rush into combat, to give your life for freedom? John MacKall accepted that price. He did not run from duty. He carried his team. He jumped. And when he died, he did so among the first of a new breed of soldiers, airborne infantry. Today, Camp MacKall still stands. The marker still reads, named for Private John Thomas MacKall. History books mention him as one of the first American paratroopers to die in combat in World War II. But if you ask many people, the name is unfamiliar, which is why stories like his matter. He reminds us of youth in war, of those who volunteered before the battles were famous. He reminds us of airborne infantry's high-risk, high-reward world. He reminds us that behind every unit name and badge, there are young people who stood up and jumped. His service brings lessons. Courage isn't the absence of fear, but acting when you're afraid. Youth doesn't excuse you from service, and great men do not wait until they're perfect. Recognition is nice, but duty often demands silence. Legacy belongs to the lives you touch, not just your medals. John Thomas MacKall may not be a household name, but his story is extraordinary. A farm kid who became a paratrooper, hit a defect so he could serve, jumped into war, fought bravely, and paid the ultimate price. His story touches on what war demands, what service looks like, and how history remembers or forgets the young who go. If his story moved you, share it. Because remembering isn't just about history books. It's about honoring the lives behind them. Don't let names like MacKall fade. Let his leap, his courage, his sacrifice echo forward. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told more often, subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden histories of war. Because every soldier has a story, and some deserve to be forever remembered.